I'm one of those people who's very skeptical about hypey titles or hypey anything. So if I saw that there was going to be a podcast called 1 Minute Cuisine, I think, oh man, this guy is just trying to make big money and he's just full of it. And I certainly wouldn't be creating a podcast that was called 1 Minute Cuisine unless I was damn sure that it wasn't hype. And I can look you in the eye and tell you that I believe it is not hype. I'm going to give you, I don't know, about 15 different dishes that can be made in about 1 minute or less in some cases, that is healthy, cheap, and tasty. And takes a minute. The idea of why does it matter? Why does it matter that we could create good, healthy, tasty stuff in 1 minute? Because so many of us are trying to scramble to find time. Our days are overfull. My best friend says, I don't have time to think. Between parenting and my job and doing things around the house and everything else, I don't have a minute to think. I just work, do my second shift after I get home, and then I collapse in bed. Or maybe watch some TV to unwind. Well, the 1 Minute Cuisine is a way to find hours in a week with no sacrifice of health, tastiness, and speed and cheapness. I have to say a word about this. This is not some middle class bourgeois recommendation. As you're going to see, almost everything I'm going to recommend is not expensive. Even if you live in a so-called food desert, you will find at the local market or supermarket everything you need at an affordable price, even to low-income people. I frankly have seen a number of obese families walk right past the market and right into McDonald's for their Happy Meals. But that's off track. So let me start talking about these recipes, these 1 minute recipes. And every one of these things is not only tested by me, but it's part of my absolute regular eating routine. It's most of what I eat. So we're in the middle of winter now. My standard breakfast, if it's a cold morning, is I will have a typical 2-pound canister of Quaker Oatmeal, and I will simply take it, put it in a paper bowl so that I can throw it out. I'm not wasting a lot of resources. I recycle it. It's nothing. It's a tenth of an ounce. But all the water it saves and washing it saves is enormous. So I'm going to be quite detailed so you can do this easily. So I take one of these paper bowls. They're called Dixie Basics. I buy them by 500 in a quantity of 500. And they cost about, I think it's 8 cents a piece. And I put basically a handful, I just basically pour in a handful worth of the Quaker oats. It can be quick oats or regular traditional. Actually, I like the traditional because, believe it or not, they cook up in a minute too. So I put roughly a handful, a full-size handful, maybe a little more, in the bowl, and a little water, maybe 2 ounces of water, something like that. I stick it in the microwave for 53 seconds. While I'm doing that, I've got time to perhaps clean the sink a little bit, or the counter where I make coffee and it gets all full of junk, and pull out the bag. The bag is a plastic bag that's a mix of 3 items from Trader Joe's. It's sweetened coconut, it's sweetened cranberries, and unsalted walnuts. And I simply have mixed those in a bag, and after the 53 seconds, out comes the bowl of oatmeal. If there's extra water, I kind of squeeze the bowl, squeeze out the water so it's not so watery. And then I took one hand, I put my hand in that bag, that plastic bag that I just described of what I could call a trail mix, and I simply put it in there, take a plastic spoon, which again costs about 1 cent, very little environmental waste, but again, I'm saving more in the dishwashing than the environmental cost of a plastic spoon. I also buy those in boxes of 500, also Dixie Basics, probably about a penny a piece, 2 cents a piece. I simply stir it up. I don't add sugar. so I don't end up eating a lot of sugar. And literally in 1 minute, maybe 90 seconds, whatever, I have a very healthy, filling, inexpensive breakfast. If I'm still hungry, I'll have a piece of fresh fruit, whatever is in season. In the winter, it might be an apple or a banana. In the summer, it might be a peach. So in no time, I have had a healthy breakfast. Often, because I live in California, sometimes the mornings aren't very cold. And so I might instead of, I don't necessarily want something hot, I buy a 2-pound container of yogurt, unflavored yogurt, low fat or non-fat. And to it, I will add either, I will have 1 spoon of that. I'll have 1 spoon of that while I'm having a bite of banana. Or I have this Trader Joe's lemon curd, which I will take in a spoon and simply mix it into the top part of that container of yogurt. And I have a instant 20-second healthy, because I'm not adding sugar and I'm just using a fairly small amount of lemon curd, or I could use apricot preserves. Or as I said, a fresh fruit like a peach or a banana. In less than a minute, I have a healthy breakfast for when it's not cold. Speaking of lemon curd and apricot preserves, another example is either for a snack or part of a lunch. I really like, you can see I'm a Trader Joe's fan. They have this unsalted, crunchy peanut butter with flax seeds, which is supposed to be quite healthy, and it's delicious. And I might, on a piece of usually whole wheat bread, put some of that peanut butter, some of that lemon curd or apricot preserves, and voila, I have a grown-up peanut butter and jelly sandwich that is absolutely delicious. Snacks, again, fruit. By the way, in season when, let's say, in the winter, I might also, instead of the lemon curd or the apricot preserves, I might just put some sliced bananas or apple. Again, I'm in the winter, and put that on the peanut butter in the little whole wheat sandwich. Again, in 1 minute, I have an inexpensive, healthy, really tasty lunch or snack. Just the fresh fruit itself. So often, I'll just grab a banana. Takes 0 time. I happen to also love peaches in season if they're good. Good apples, Jazz apples, are among the best tasting of all apples, and they're cheap and available, widely available. Now we'll talk about something else. This is not breakfast, but this is more like lunch or dinner. They say broccoli is among the healthiest foods. I don't like broccoli. Nobody likes broccoli. But here's an easy way I make broccoli taste good in 1 minute. I use frozen broccoli crowns, and I put them in one of those paper bowls that I described. Stick it in the microwave for roughly, maybe a little more actually, more like 1 minute and 40 seconds for maybe 3 ounces of vegetables. Then when it comes out, I will simply sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on it, some onion salt, some garlic powder, or what else? Soy sauce. These are all things I like. And if it feels a little tasteless, I want to give myself a little more flavor, I might cut myself a little slice of brie cheese, my favorite cheese, and have it along with it. Again, this takes a minute. All right, maybe 2 minutes. And I'm eating healthy, quick as hell, and delicious. Speaking of cheese, I love cheese. And so rather than pizza, which takes longer to create if you're buying frozen pizza, let alone delivery, I'm not a big tomato sauce fan. So I will take my favorite bread, and it doesn't have to be whole wheat. I will eat sometimes some ciabatta, some sourdough, or whatever. I'll simply take a slice and put a slice of that brie cheese on it, stick it in the microwave for 15 seconds, and I have, again, either a great snack, or if I want more, I'll have a whole piece of it and have lunch with a tomato. Instant grilled cheese. Notice that each of these really only takes a minute, maybe 2. Salad. I want to make sure that I'm eating a reasonable amount of greens in addition to I can't eat so much broccoli. I have an easy salad that I just love to death and is very low calorie and healthy and delicious for me. I use romaine lettuce or any dark leaf lettuce because the dark iceberg doesn't have as many vitamins. Tomato. I simply take a tomato. Let me tell you specifically what I do so you see how quick it is. I take one of those either paper bowls or another kind of bowl, and I will peel off a couple of, maybe 4 of the romaine lettuce leaves. I will wash them thoroughly under the water. I'll squeeze out all the water so that it doesn't dilute the flavor. I will then rip them and put them in the bowl. And then I will take a tomato and I will stick a tomato on top of that lettuce. And with a knife right there in the bowl, I will cut it into quarters or a little, usually quarters, maybe more, maybe eighths. And then I sprinkle blue cheese. I love Trader Joe's crumbled, like Treasure Cave-like blue cheese. Better than Treasure Cave. It's just delicious. And then I put a little apple vinegar on top so that I have a little bit of that acidity, which tastes great. That mix of lettuce, tomato, crumbled blue cheese, and apple vinegar, again, takes a minute, delicious. Also, if I want a little crouton-y thing, you could use croutons. I happen to like the Trader Joe's little mini rice crackers, and I'll just throw an ounce of them on there, and now I've got a more filling salad. All right, I should let you know what you're listening to. You're listening to How to Do Life, if you're listening to this on a podcast. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just watching me on YouTube. For the podcast, I've got to take a little break, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. When I come back, I've got a lot more quick 1-minute cuisine things to talk about. So I'm hoping you'll stay with me for the 10 seconds or so. Thank you for staying with me. Now I want to talk about, nothing I've suggested so far has been very sweet. But one of the best tasting things in the world, well, 2 of them, I'm going to say, I love canned peaches. In water. They don't have to be in fattening syrup. But canned peaches are, for me, maybe the best tasting thing I ever put in my mouth. What a hell of a dessert. Any season, no matter where you live, even if you live in a part of the country in a time of year where you don't get much good fresh produce, opening a can of peaches and really savoring each of those slices is really one of the great treats and takes 0 time and is healthy. I'm hoping you're seeing why I'm saying that it's not hype to talk about 1-minute cuisine. Ice cream is one of the others that is just one of the best tasting things in the world. You can combine the canned peaches with the ice cream, well drained, so you're not having a lot of sugar. You got enough sugar in the ice cream. My favorite ice cream, believe it or not, is Breyers. I'm not talking about Dreyers. Breyers with a B, vanilla. Why? Because it's not so dense and rich. It's just dense and creamy enough, and it's got a lot lower calories because it's not so calorie dense. And yet it's extremely tasty without being too sweet. I'm not talking about the French vanilla. I'm talking about Breyers vanilla. Of course, you may be a chocolate person or a strawberry person or a Rocky Road person. That's another story. But again, Breyers, when it's on sale, you get a half gallon for $2.99. That's unbelievable. And if you have 3-4 ounces of it, it's not that fattening. And it's certainly one of the tastier things you can put in your mouth. And again, it's an instant dessert. Unlike, for example, if you bake a cake, which is going to be usually more calories and take forever. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite snacks, which is popcorn. It takes maybe 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes to make. I buy, I actually at Trader Joe's they have these bag of popcorn kernels. I'll tell you specifically how I do it because it's a foolproof way, so you don't have a lot of unpopped kernels. I simply take a saucepan. I simply take the bag of Trader Joe's and I cover maybe 80% of the bottom of I first put in some olive oil, healthiest oil. Then I put in I put in 3 kernels into that, and I put the cover on, and I set the heat for medium heat. And usually in about 2 minutes, it had at least one of the kernels is popped. That's the signal that the temperature is right to put the rest in. So at that point, I take the bag of popcorn kernels, and I put in just enough to cover maybe 80% of the bottom. Of course, a single layer, 80% of the bottom of the pan. I keep it on that medium heat, and I once or twice I might shake it. And in another minute or so, I have a nice sized bowl of popcorn, which I don't add butter. I don't want it to be that fattening, but I'll add whatever my mood is. I'll either add sprinkle some Parmesan cheese, or garlic powder, or onion salt, and I have really delicious, fresh, warm popcorn. Healthy, inexpensive, fast. You'll notice I haven't said a single thing about anything meat. I think everything I've said so far is pretty much vegan. Maybe it is vegan. Yeah, I have not mentioned a single thing that requires even eggs, let alone fish or meat. So now I'm not a vegan or even a vegetarian, but I eat relatively little meat. And so here are just a few things that I make that conform to the 1 minute cuisine idea that involve meat, fish, or eggs. I will I will either broil or even microwave. And I'll tell you, I'm going to defend microwaving a piece of chicken or beef. And here's why. The flavor really comes from it being cooked just the right amount. With chicken, just so that there's no red in the middle, because you could get salmonella or whatever. And the beef, so that it is pink in the middle. It's cooking it the right amount that it's what guarantees the flavor, more than even broiling. Yes, broiling adds some more value because there's some texture, there's some crispiness that comes from the broiling. And if I have a little time, I'll throw it in the broil. Usually in the toaster oven on the broil level. That might take 5 or 8 minutes. But if I'm in a rush, I'll just put the piece of chicken or beef in the microwave, and in, assuming it's not frozen but it's defrosted, in 3 to 4 minutes, it's cooked. And I will cut open the middle to make sure that it's not red, red. The chicken especially is not red on the inside. And then I'll simply spice it the way I like it. Again, you've already heard what my favorite spices are. The onion salt, the garlic, the Parmesan cheese. But I also like curry. So I might sprinkle some curry powder on that chicken or on the beef. So again, in almost no time, I have a solid meat entree. For lunch, I am much more likely to, if I'm, and I do this all the time, maybe every other day, I might have for lunch, I'll have a tuna or an egg salad sandwich. How do I make tuna so quickly? Very quickly and very easily. I will open a can of tuna. I don't like it very salty, so I actually run it under the water for 15 seconds, and with the can top still there, so I'm just pushing down and getting rid of the salty water. And then with the tuna still in the can, I will add, I love Best Food mayonnaise. I will have usually a heaping tablespoon of Best Food mayonnaise, and then I'll either add some relish, which again takes no time, or I'll chop celery or an onion or whatever to give it some crunch. And then I will put that on a piece of my favorite bread, or a ciabatta roll, or, like I said, sourdough bread or whatever, whole wheat bread. And I do that. I'll do the same kind of thing with egg salad. I have this, it costs almost nothing, this hard-boiled egg maker where that you don't have to watch it. It goes in the microwave. You fill the bottom of it with water. Then there's a tray that you put the eggs on so it doesn't touch the water, and it kind of steams the eggs. You put it in the microwave, and for 2 eggs, it takes about 6 minutes. And again, you don't have to stand. You can go back to work for the 6 minutes. Same is true, of course, when you're broiling a piece of meat or whatever. The prep time is less than a minute. So that really, all this conforms to the 1 minute cuisine. So anyway, for 2 eggs, you put the water in the bottom, put the 2 eggs in on the tray, put it in the micro, cover it with the cover that comes with it, and 6 minutes later, you've got hard-boiled eggs. I then rinse it under cold water so it's not so hot. I then simply stick them in a bowl, the two peeled eggs, hard-boiled eggs. Add the same things I was talking about, Best Foods mayonnaise, and usually onion salt, and that's usually, and some celery to give it some crunch. And I put it on whatever bread I feel like eating. So I think I've just given you maybe 15 1-minute cuisine, certainly 1 minute of preparation time. There may be a little bit of cooking time where you can go and do something else. You can, if you're there in the kitchen, you can just clean up the kitchen while you're waiting those few minutes. But your actually cook preparation time is a minute or so, or in some cases less. I'm just going to briefly just relist them. I'm not going to go over them in any great detail. There is oatmeal, the way I described it, with my trail mix of sweetened cranberry, sweetened coconut, and unsalted walnuts. I just throw a handful of that mix in. Yogurt with the fresh fruit of the season, like a peach or banana, or a spoon of lemon curd or apricot preserves. Microwaved veggies, but with very carefully spiced with your favorite spices. Your favorite bread and cheese thrown into the microwave or for a minute, or maybe the toaster oven. A simple salad with lettuce, tomato, blue cheese, and perhaps croutons or little mini rice crackers, perhaps crumbled with apple vinegar. Cold water, warm weather breakfast of yogurt and fresh or canned fruit like peaches. Breyer's ice cream, vanilla is particularly wonderful in my opinion. Popcorn with onion, salt, and garlic or Parmesan. Meat, broiled or even microwaved chicken or beef, with spiced with your favorite spicing. Tuna or egg salad sandwiches, as I described. And so that's a fair number. I'm not saying you always have to eat that way, but boy, we were talking. The purpose of this, as I said, was to be able to it's one of the best ways I can think of saving hours of each week of shopping, chopping, cooking, and cleaning up. Notice the cleanup for all these things is unbelievably easy. So, if you love to cook and it's a source of stress reduction or creativity or whatever, so fine. But if you like the idea of finding a few hours to do things you'd rather do than cooking, I like to think that this 1-minute cuisine idea may make sense. In any event, if you are watching this on YouTube, I certainly do welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And in any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.